Okay, good morning, everybody. I dedicate this week's Parsha, Ekev, to loving memory of my generous friend, Rachel Pollack, who became a bat mitzvah 40 years after her bar mitzvah. She related strongly to the 40-year journey in the Toyrah to freeing herself to enjoy her true, beautiful, feminine being. This year marks 25 years since that history-making day. I grew up in a bubble of plenty. I lived in a new home, had a new wardrobe every school year, and always had plenty to eat. My dad's business was food. He was an entrepreneur in the food business, being one of the pioneers of frozen food. He imported, produced, and warehoused various kinds of food, particularly fruit. We had a spacious kitchen with well-stocked cabinets and a large refrigerator. Downstairs, we had a small refrigerator, a huge chest freezer that was big enough to store 6 bodies, and a full pantry whose shelves went from the floor to the ceiling. I never once thought about need. Food was just there, much like the manna that God sent down from heaven to the wandering Hebrews. Once I left home, that support and plenty ended. I married, had my own family, and depended on my husband for food, clothing, and shelter. Many years later, I had to leave my unhealthy marriage. Then I had substandard housing and little or no money for food or clothing. I was forced to enter a door I never knew existed, the door of the Department of Social Services, to ask for financial assistance. I remember the first time I went shopping with my food stamps. I had to bring my ID to the customer service desk in the grocery store. And I waited until I was given a book of paper food stamps. And this was every month I had to do this. Now, everyone in view would know I was a poor single mother. I was in the Woodstock Grand Union. I walked slowly down the aisle of shame. I felt I couldn't fall any lower. By chance, an acquaintance of mine was in the store and noted my sad demeanor. "What's the matter?" he asked with concern. I told him I was ashamed that I had to rely on the government for help, that I had just received food stamps. "That's great," he said with a congratulatory air. "New York wants you to eat. You deserve food." And with that, I just cried. This week's Parsha, Ekev, says, "He fed you with manna, which you had never experienced, nor had your fathers experienced, to make you realize that humanity does not live by bread alone, but rather that humanity lives from all the utterances of God's mouth. For these past 40 years, your clothing did not become worn upon you. Your feet did not become swollen. You will eat and be satisfied. You must bless God, your God, for the good land he has given you." That's from Deuteronomy chapter 8, verses 3, 4, and 10. So I bought my food. My children and I ate and were satisfied and very grateful. I also availed myself of the free store at Family, a multifaceted agency who really embodies the Torah wisdom, whose mission is to serve those in need in every aspect of life. I outfitted my children and myself with clothes from the free store. The dress I'm wearing today came off the rack at Family. It's been 30, not yet 40 years that I enjoy wearing this beautiful piece. I also got food from Family, as well as a kind, non-judgmental ear as I navigated through the trials of a very troublesome divorce and single parenthood. Years later, I was happy to donate household items and clothes to Family, and I continue to joyfully donate to this caring and essential group of loving people. Please donate to Family. Since that time, I have never taken anything I have received for granted. Rabbi Raskin writes in the book on the Hebrew letters, the Torah, I can't remember the title right now, in Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 12. What does God ask of you? Only to fear God, your Lord, and to love him. The Talmud says, do not read what, ma, but rather insert an aleph and read me'ah, 100. 100 does God ask of you. This will lead you to fear God and to love him. Thus, Jewish tradition encourages each person to recite 100 blessings a day, distributed throughout various daily mitzvot and prayers. I am filled with gratitude for the governmental support, as well as the many kindnesses I have received from family, my friends, and many congregants at the Woodstock Jewish congregation. And the shul's yard sale was another source of much needed items. My Torah studies affirm my right to be cared for. I am grateful for those people in government whose actions are inspired by the teachings of the Torah that instruct those who have plenty to look to the needs of the widow and orphan, meaning those who are in need through no fault of their own. I'd like to introduce certain government officials to the wisdom saying from Pirkei Avot that asks, who is wealthy? One who is happy with their lot. Debarti.